Hello, welcome to this session on must-do sets for CAT LRDI preparation. Whether you have just started or you're trying to put finishing touches to your CAT preparation, these are sets which you should not be missing on your journey. Now, today we'll be looking at mixed bag questions. Now, these are questions from all areas of LRDI. These are again relevant sets. We have handpicked them. I would suggest take these questions as a sectional test. The link for these tests are available in the description of this video. Please take this as a sectional test because it will enhance your skills of picking between 5 sets or 6 sets or something like that. Choosing between easy set or a difficult set or sets which you like and sets which you don't like is the most important skill and the most determining factor on succeeding in the LRDI section. How well you can judge sets, how well you can leave sets will decide how well you actually end up scoring in the LRDI section. If you are running short of time, obviously you can skip to the relevant sets. Each of the videos which you'll be releasing will have links available in the description where if you click on it, you can skip to the relevant set. 21 participants from 4 continents, Africa, America, Australasia, and Europe attended a United Nations conference. So you have 4 different continents: Africa, America, Australasia, and Europe, right? This can be a Venn diagram, this can be a table sort of a thing. Let's see what this is. Each participant was an expert in one of the 4 fields. Okay, so you have 4 fields also. So it looks like a matrix. It looks like a matrix. Why can we say it's a matrix and not a Venn diagram? First of all, you have 4 fields. All of them are, it says that each of them is an expert in one field, right? And you have 4 continents. Obviously a person will be from one continent, not from 2 continents at the same time, right? Okay, so it looks like a distribution, a matrix sort of a distribution. There are 21 people overall, right? The following facts are given about these people. So these are the statements which are given. Now let's quickly go through the questions before we jump into solving this. It says, which of the following combinations is not possible? Not possible. So this might be a definite, might not be definite sort of thing. It says, if Ramos is the lone American, which of the following is not true about this? Okay. Then you have a question which says, which of the following cannot be determined? Then you have information about at least one, at most one. So this looks like a set which can be partially solved. I might be wrong, but prima facie it looks like the wording of the question looks like that it might be only a partially solvable sort of a set. So let's create this table. I've done this. There are 21 people overall. Let's try to fix this. Okay, Australasia, America, Africa, Europe, 4 parts: labor, health, population studies, and refugee relocation. Okay, the number of labor experts in the camp was exactly half the number of experts in each of the other 3 categories. So if the labor experts is X, everyone else will be 2X. It says everything is 2. It is half of all the others. So this should be 7X. 7X is 21, so X should be 3. So this is 6, 6, and 6. Okay, first statement is done. Africa did not send any labor expert. So this is 0, right? Otherwise, every continent, including Africa, sent at least 1 expert for each category. So everything else will be at least 1 except for this, which means that because this is 3, each of them has to be 1, 1 each, right? Each of them has to be 1, 1 each. Otherwise, there's no way to make others non-zero. So if I put 2 here, one of them will become 0, right? So that is not possible. So this is done. Part C, none of the continents sent more than 3 experts in any category. So none of them can be more than 3. None of the values can be more than 3. Okay. D says, had there been 1 less Australasian expert, then Americas would have had twice as many experts in each of the other continents. Okay, so let's see what this is. America would have had twice than each of the others, which means America already has twice of the other 2, except for Australia, which you have to reduce by 1. So for example, if Africa had X people, America would have 2X. Europe will have X, and Australasia would have X plus 1. Because if you reduce it by 1, then America would have double of all of them. Right? So if I rewrite this, this will be 3, 4, 5. 5x plus 1 equals 21. So x should be equal to 20 by 5, which is 4. So this should be 4, this should be 8, this should be 5, this should be 4. Total of 21. Right? This is done. Part D. Mike and Alfonso are leading experts of population studies who attended the conference. They are from Australasia. So population studies. So they are population studies. So there are at least 2 people here. 2 plus people here. There are 2 plus people here. Now, you can maximum be 3. But if I put 3 here, there's already 4 here. So one of them will end up becoming 0. So this has to be exactly 2. Right? This has to be exactly 2. Population studies, Australasia has to be exactly 2. Because if I make it 3, one of the others will be 0, which is not possible. So the other 2 will be 1 each. Also, Europe total is 4. So this has to be 1, 1, and 1. That's the only way to get 4. Okay. Now, the others will depend based on this, because this is 4. One of them will be a 2. Other 2 will be 1. Because if I put a 3 here, you'll have only a 1 and a 0. And no more zeros are allowed. So that is not possible. So one of them will be 1. One of them will be 2, one of the cells will be 2, other 2 will be 1, and America will adjust based on the total here. Okay, so nothing much to do besides this. Let's go to the questions one by one and try to solve them. Okay, I have written this down. Let's see. Which of the following is not possible? Okay, 2 experts in population studies from Americas and 2 of health studies from Africa. Can I fit this here? If this is 2, these 2 should be 1. Right? This should be 3 and this should be 2. Does this add up to 8? Yes. Are all the rows satisfied? 6, 6, 6. This is satisfied. So first is possible. So that is out. Okay. Second, 2 experts in population studies from Americas and 1 health expert from Africa. 2 population studies from Americas and 1 health expert from Africa. This is possible. This will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 2, and this will be 3. Right? This also satisfies. So this also goes. Okay. Third, there are 3 experts in refugee relocation in Americas. So if I put 3 here, this will be 1. Okay, and 1 health expert from Africa. If this is 1, this should be 2. This should be 1, 1, 2. This should be 3. This is also possible. This does not seem to have any problems here also. This is also possible. And the last one should be false. This should not be possible. Africa and America had 1 expert in population studies attending the conference. So if I put both of them 1, right, the row total is only 5, but I need 6. So this is not possible. Option 4 will be your correct choice. Question number 2. If Ramos is a lone American expert in population studies, Ramos is a lone expert in population studies. So this is 1. His name is Ramos. So let's try to fill the other one. This is 4 plus 3 plus 1, 4. So this should be 2. Other 2 should be 1. So this should be 3. This should be 3. Possible? Looks possible. Let's see. There is 1 expert. Which of them is not true? Okay. I need the false statement. There is 1 expert in health from Africa. 1 expert in health from Africa. This is true. There is 1 expert in refugee relocation from Africa. This is also true. There are 2 experts in health from Americas. Health, no, actually there are 3. So this is false. So this is what I want. So last statement should be true. There are 3 experts in refugee relocation from Africa. This is true. Right? So option 3. Question number 3. Alex, an American expert in refugee relocation, was the first keynote speaker in the conference. So there is at least 1 here. What can be inferred about the number of American experts in refugee relocation in the conference, excluding Alex? Okay, so excluding Alex, can I make this? It says at least one, at most two. Now, except of Alex, right? See, the maximum for refugee is 3. You cannot exceed 3 anyways. You cannot, we have seen this earlier also, you cannot exceed 3. So the second statement is definitely true. Second statement is definitely true, right? So this is out. This is out. So only 2 and not 1, and both 1 and 2. So can you guarantee that there will be at least one more person besides Alex? There will be at least one more person besides Alex. Let's see. What can be the maximum number here? Even if I put 2 here, maximum number in Africa would be 2. Because if I put a 3, one of the other cells in the Africa column will become 0. We have seen this earlier. So the maximum number here is 2. Which means the minimum requirement here will be 2. You can have 2, 2, 1, 1, making it 6. Or you can have 1, 3, 1, 1, making it 6. Right? So one of them is Alex. Right? So the remaining person can be either 1 here or 2 people here. So at most 2, at least 1. Both the statements are definitely true. Option 3 is your correct choice. Question number 4, which of the following cannot be determined? I don't have that information. The number of labor experts from America. Labor experts from America, I already know. Number of health experts from Europe. Europe, I know everything. Health experts from Australia, I know everything. So 4 should be the correct choice. Number of experts in refugee relocation. This can be 2 or 1. This I don't know. It's a very nice set. It's very similar to the type of sets which you have seen in CAT 2018 also, right? Where you have to fill up a grid. We had that community distribution sort of a set and parking lot sort of a set, right? You first have to figure out that this is a 4x4 matrix, not a Venn diagram, which we saw by looking at the wording of the question. Then we figured out whether the questions can be exactly solvable, can be fully solved. And then we filled the grid partially and went one by one to each question and solved them. In an exam situation, this will probably take you about 10 minutes, a moderate level of difficulty question. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notifications button so that you are notified when we are releasing our next set of videos. Please do like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us through WhatsApp and Telegram as well. All the relevant links are available in the description of this particular video. Hi, this is a question which is on Venn diagrams. It's actually a painful sort of a question. The pain point is not in the difficulty, the pain point is the way it is represented. This is a type of questions which you have done in our course also, where the negation of the part is not has a different name. For example, in a usual Venn diagram, you have 3 sort of things: people who have Chrome, people who have Safari, people who have Firefox. Now here you have a scenario where people use either a Chrome or an Internet Explorer. So anyone who is not using Chrome is given a different name called Internet Explorer. So every time you have something called as Internet Explorer given, so you'll have to look at all the other regions. Similarly with Firefox and Opera. So if you don't use Firefox, the other one will be Opera. It is not mentioned as not Firefox. If it was mentioned as not Firefox, it would have been much more easier than what it is actually. But other than that, this is the only thing which you need to take care of. Now, all of them are definite questions, right? So it's a 3 variable Venn diagram. The question says students in a college are discussing 2 proposals. Proposal A, which is to impose dress code. Proposal B, which is to allow multinational companies. A student does not necessarily support either of the 2 proposals. So there might be people who voted against proposal B as well as proposal A. There will be people who will be voting for both proposal A as well as proposal B. So this part is not a problem. But then you have a problem. In an upcoming election, the student union, there are 2 candidates, Sunita and Ragini. Every student prefers only one of the two candidates. So here you have this problem, that Chrome and Internet Explorer problem. So if you don't vote for Sunita, you will be voting for Ragini. If you don't vote for Ragini, you'll be voting for Sunita. So you'll need to be careful about what is not Sunita, what is not Ragini, right? The total sample is 500, and then you have information which is given, right? So let's draw a Venn diagram and try to fill out the regions. Okay, so total is 500. I have written this down. This is proposal A, this is region A. This is proposal B, this is region B. So we need to be a little careful about the distinction. Okay, 250 people supported proposal A. So B, C, D, E is 250. So I can say B, C, D, E is 250. Similarly, 250 supported proposal B. D, E, F, G is proposal B. This is 250. Right, so this is taken care of. Among the 200 students who preferred Sunita, so Sunita is 200. So A, B, E, F is 200. This is Sunita, which means Ragini, C, D, G, H. This will be 300. Right, out of them, 80% supported proposal A. So they are in Sunita as well as proposal A. So B and E. So BE is 60%, 80% of 200 is 160, which means balance AF is 40. This is taken care of. Among the people who preferred Ragini, this one, 30% voted for proposal A. So they are Ragini, which means outside of ABEF. But in proposal A, which means C and D. So C and D will be 30% of 300, which is 90. So CD is 90, which means GH should be 300 minus 90, 210. This is done. 20% of those who supported proposal B preferred Sunita. Proposal B as well as Sunita. So EF, proposal B was 250, 20% of that will be 50. EF will be 50. Which also means DG is 200. Right, this is done. 40% of those who did not support proposal B, outside of proposal B, which means A, B, C, H. Now 250 support proposal B, so 250 don't support proposal B. So 250, 40% of 250 is 100, right? Preferred Ragini. They are outside proposal B but preferred Ragini. So C and H. CH is 100, which means AB should be 150. Right? Okay. Sixth statement. Every student who prefers Sunita and proposal B also supported proposal A. Sunita, proposal B, proposal A. So Sunita and proposal B is EF. We already know EF. EF is 50. They also supported proposal A, which means E. So F should be 0. This says F should be 0. And the last statement, among those who preferred Ragini, outside this, 20%. Ragini is 300, so 60, did not support any of the proposals. So H is 60. That's the last statement, right? So I've gone through one, I know F and H. Let's summarize this and solve each of the values. Okay, I have written all this down. Let's fill this out. H is 60. F is 0. Right. C and H is 100, out of which H is 60. So C should be 40. A and B is 150. F, E and F is 50. So F is 0. So E should be 50. G and H is 210, out of which H is 60. So G should be 150. D and G is 200, out of which G is 150. So D should be 50. C and D is 90, that both of it is known. What else is there? B and E is 160, out of which E is 50. So B should be 110. A and F is 40, out of which F is 0. So A should be 40, right? I have all the regions. I can answer all the questions. Let's go to the questions and solve them, right? What percentage of the students surveyed who did not support proposal A? Did not support proposal A, which means denominator is 250. Preferred Ragini as a student. So out of proposal A, but preferred Ragini. Preferred Ragini will be G and H combined, right? So that's 210. 210 out of 250 is 84%. Question number 2. Among the students surveyed who supported proposal A. So again, denominator is 250. What percentage preferred Sunita for Union President? Proposal A, Sunita. B and E combined, that's 160. 160 out of 250 is 64%. Right? That is done. Question number 3. What percentage of the students surveyed who supported both proposals A and B? So denominator is 100. Preferred Sunita for the Union President. So E. 50 out of 100, that's 50%. Option 4. And the last one, how many of the students surveyed supported proposal B? Supported proposal B, so that's D, E, F, G. Did not support proposal A, so remove E and D. And preferred Ragini. Preferred Ragini, so remove F. G will be your answer. G is equal to 150. Option 3 is your correct choice. Right? Very nice set on Venn diagrams. Key point was, again, this differentiation. If it is Sunita, then it is not Ragini. If it is Ragini, then it is not Sunita. Once you get that, the question, with a little bit of patience, you can answer this question. About 8 to 9 minutes if you are comfortable with Venn diagrams. If you are not comfortable with Venn diagrams, it basically will just mess up your head. That completes this one. A lot of students miss out on good B schools because they simply don't apply and they are ignorant. They don't do any research beyond the IIMs and they are more worried about their profile and academics, etc., rather than actually getting into a good B schools and making a career in the management field. If you would like personalized B school assistance, all you need to do is fill up the Google document. Link is available in the description of this video and we'll send you individual B school recommendations which fit your profile and your career aspirations. Fuel contamination level at each of the 20 petrol pumps P1 to P20 are recorded as either high, medium or low. Contamination levels at 3 petrol pumps among P1 to P5 were recorded as high. P6 was the only pump among P1 to P10 where the contamination was low. P7, P8 were the only 2 consecutively numbered pumps where the same levels of contamination were recorded. Then you have some information. So we have to find out from P1 to P20 what are the levels. And if you look at the question, it asks you about what are the possibilities available. So let's draw out a simple table. This is from P1 to P20. Let's look at what is given to us. Now, contamination levels at P1 to P5 were recorded as, 3 of them were recorded as high, right? And the second one says among P1 to P10 only P6 was low. So this is low. And from P1 to P10 all the others will be either high or medium. So this is done. Okay. Now, third statement says P7 and P8 were the only 2 consecutively numbered pumps where the same levels of contamination were recorded. So these two have the same levels of contamination. So both of them can be high, both of them can be medium, right? But except for these two, no 2 pumps will have no 2 consecutively numbered pumps will have the same level of contamination, which means P5 cannot be low. P7 also cannot be low because it will violate 2 conditions. Because if P7 is low, P8 will also be low. In which case 3 consecutive pumps will have the same one. The second violation will be this one. P6 is the only pump among first 10 which will have low concentration. Now, which means alternately everything else will have everything else will have two different parts, which means maximum that any concentration can be either 10 or 11. If even if you consider two adjacent, maximum can be alternate, can be 10 or 11. Right? Even 11 may not be possible, but let's check. Now, if you go back to the first statement, right? It says contamination levels at 3 pumps among P1 to P5 were high. 3 among them were high, right? Which is possible only if 1, 3 and 5 are high. Which means these two should be medium because only this one is low, right? Okay. So this part is also taken care of. Now, high contamination were not recorded in any of the pumps P16 to P20. Okay. So this should be medium or low, these 5. So high can be only from 1 to 15, which means the maximum value for high can be either 9 or 8, even if we try to get both of them, right? Maximum will be half of 15, 8, right? Okay. So maximum value of high will be 8. Now this we can use in the last one. The number of pumps where high concentration levels were recorded were twice the number with low concentration levels recorded. Okay. So let's just write this down and then come back and do this. Okay. Now we have written this down neatly. Okay. Now if we analyze this, the number of pumps where high concentration level was recorded were twice the number where low concentration levels were recorded. Now number of pumps from P1 to P15, maximum you can get high pumps will be either 8, even if you use these two, max you can probably squeeze in 9. Right. Now, because high concentration is double low concentration, it cannot be 9. So maximum value will be 8. It can be 8, 6, 4. It cannot be 2 because 2 is already done. So number of highs can be this. So lows will be 4, 3, 2. So in which case medium will be, in this case 8, in this case 11, in this case 20 minus 6, 14. Now this is not possible, right? So one of these two scenarios are possible. Can I get 11 medium concentration pumps, right? Even if I put these two as medium, right? This will be high, this will be medium, right? I can put 3 out of them medium. This can be low and low, right? Now there are 5 pumps left. You can at most get 2 more. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can at most get 8 pumps medium. So this scenario is also out. So I have the number of high, low and medium pumps. Now if I need to get 8 pumps to be high, right? 8 pumps to have high concentration levels, right? I need to get these two as high. That's the only way out. Otherwise I will not be able to sustain it. Right, so we'll have high here, this will be medium, this will be high. This part is done, right? Now this can be medium, low, medium, low, medium, or it can be low, medium, low, medium, low, right? One of these two scenarios can go through. Okay, now let's summarize this part. I already know the number of pumps. I also know that these two will be high, this will be medium, this will be high, and these two patterns are there. Let's figure out what comes out of this. Okay, I have written this down neatly. Now in this case, right, you already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 2 more. So alternately medium and low, and you already have 1, 2, 3 and 4 low level pumps. So this has to be medium and low, or medium and high alternatively. So medium, high, medium, high and medium. This will be the case. This part is fixed. Now in this scenario, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. I need 2 more. So I need 2 of them should be high. How many lows do I have? 1, 2, 3 lows, right? So I need 1 low and the remaining 2 should be medium. Now there are multiple scenarios possible. For example, I can put this as low, high, sorry, this as medium, this as high, this as medium, this as high. Or I can start with medium here, then high, then medium, then high, then low, right? So multiple scenarios are possible in this case. right? So if there are 3 lows in the bottom 5, then I can already fix. But if there are 3 mediums here, I will not be able to exactly ascertain this. Okay, that basically uses up all the data. Let's go back to the questions and try to solve. Right, I've summarized this. Let's go back to the questions and solve them. Okay, which of the following must be true? Definitely should be true. P12 was high. Now in this case it was high, but as we saw in the case, it need not be always the case, right? So maybe P20 was recorded as medium, not necessarily. P13 was recorded as low. Again, it can be medium or low if it was this scenario. So fourth statement must be correct. P10 was recorded as high. This is definitely true. Option 4. What best can be said about the number of pumps in which the contamination levels was recorded as medium? This we found as to be exactly 8. This is done. Okay. Next one. If the contamination level at P11 was recorded as low, P11 was low, which means this case. Okay. Which of the following must be true? Okay, if this is low, this cannot be medium, this has to be high, this has to be medium, this has to be high, this has to be medium. Right, that's the only way to fix this. They have to be alternating, right? Right. So P14 was medium, this is true. P15 was medium, this is false. P12 was high, false. P18 was low, this is also false. So first one is the only true one. And the last one, if P15 was recorded as medium, which is this scenario, which of the following must be false? Okay, P10 and P14 had the same level. P10 and P14 had the same level. This is true. P11 and P16 were same. P11 and P16 were the same. This is false. So second statement is false. Just verify the other two. P13 and P17 are the same. This is true. And P14 is higher than P15. P14 is higher than P15. This is also true. So second statement is a false one. So this was not a difficult one, but you have to be extremely careful while reading the statements, especially this part where you have to fix the number of pumps, and you also have to figure out the fact that only alternate levels can be, except for these two pumps, no two consecutive pumps can have the same level of concentration. Once you fix these two, the rest of the question can be solved with some amount of trial and error, but these two are the key parts in this. Overall, a moderate to difficult level question. Right, in an actual exam situation, it will take you about 10 to 12 minutes to solve this. That completes this particular set. If you get stuck anywhere with respect to preparing for LRDI, there are some free resources which are available on our YouTube channel. We have a playlist on how to prepare for LRDI. It includes which are the topics which you need to focus on, how much do you need to spend on each area. Also, we tell you how to go about picking sets in the examination, right? So if you are not able to pick even a single set, this is a good framework to start with and build on for your CAT LRDI preparation. If you want any further assistance in terms of speaking with us, getting personal guidance, doing more practice, following a more structured path to LRDI preparation, please do look at our Ultimate LRDI course.
There are only 4 brands of entry-level smartphones called Azra, Bici, 6C and DipQ. So A, B, C and D in a country. The details about the market share, unit selling price and profitability defined as profit as a percentage of revenue. This is profit as a percentage of revenue is given below. In 2017, there are some changes which are given, and then you have to find what is the highest revenue, highest profit and so on. Let's look at the data. Okay, so this is 2016 numbers. So 2017, let's check. The sales volume of entry grew by 40%. So if this total was 100, this total will become 140. Okay, of this, the market share, 6C offered 40% discount on unit selling price. 40% discount, 10% is 3,000, 40% will be 12,000, so this will be 18,000, right? Which resulted in 15% increase in market share. So this will become 30. All the others lost 5% market share. So this will be 35, this will be 20, this will be 15. Right? Selling prices and profitability. Okay, profitability 6C came down by half. So from 40 it will become 20. Everything else remains the same as in 2016. Now based on this, you have to answer these questions. Okay, so I've just written it all down. Everything else remains the same. Okay, let's go to the question. Which brand had the highest revenue in 2016? High revenue will be this times this, number of units times selling price. So we can completely disregard the last three digits. All of them are the same. 40 into 15 will be 600, 25 into 20 will be 500, 15 into 30 will be 450, and 20 into 25 will be 500. Highest is Azra. Which one has the highest profit in 2016? 10% of this will be 60, 30% will be 150, 40% will be, 10% is 45, so 180, this will be 150. So 6C, option 2 will be a correct choice. Which brand has the highest profit in 2017? Now this seems as if it is a little difficult to calculate, but no. Let's calculate out of 140. 10% is 14. So 20% value will be 28. 30% value will be 42. 15% will be half of 30, which will be 21. And 35% will be 20 plus 15, that's 49. Right? Profit. So let's multiply this. If you look at this roughly highest profit in 2017. Okay. Now, if you observe carefully, right, these two are the same profitability. These two are the same profitability. So whoever has the highest revenue among them will have the higher profits. Right? So 28 into 20 will be about 560. You can remove the last three digits again. Okay, 21 into 25, that's 500 plus 25, 525. So obviously DIPQ is out. Okay, let's do this. This will be 18 into 42 into 20 will be 840, 840, 20. 840 minus 84 will be 768. Right, and this will be 49, 50%. Okay, that's 750 minus 15, 760, 735. Right. So now I need to calculate profit. 10% will be 73.5. This is anyways out. 20% of 30% of this will be about 168, somewhere around that. And 20% of this will be 156. So this will have the highest. Right. 157 point something. So Big C has this is 73 point something. So Big C has the highest profit. So option 3. And the last one says complete the list of brands where the profits went up. Okay, we can see that 3 of the brands profits have gone up. Now if you observe, Azra has gone up, Big C has gone up, 6C has gone down, and DIPQ has gone. It will have gone up, right? It will be 156 point something, 158, right? But it has gone up. Right? So 6C is the only one which has gone down. So eliminate one which has 6C in it. Option 4 will be correct choice. Right? So if you know your ratios properly, this question can be solved very, very quickly.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notifications button so that you are notified when we are releasing our next set of videos. Please do like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us through WhatsApp and Telegram as well. All the relevant links are available in the description of this particular video.
Funky Pizzeria was required to supply pizzas to 3 different parties. Total number of pizzas it had to deliver was 800. 70% of which were to be delivered to party 3, and the rest equally divided between party 1 and party 2. Okay, so you have some amount of distribution which is given here. There are 3 parties in which 800 pizzas have to be delivered. Okay, out of which 70% goes to party 3. So this total will be 70% of 800. The balance will be 15% each. Okay, the pizzas could be of thin crust or deep dish variety and come in either normal cheese or extra cheese version. Hence there are 4 types of pizza: TNC, which is thin crust normal cheese; TEC, which will be thin crust extra cheese. Similarly, you have deep dish normal cheese and deep dish extra cheese. Partial information about the proportions of T and NC pizzas ordered by the 3 parties are given below. So if I were to read this, this is a very common set which has come in CAT earlier also. So the way to look at this would be something like this. So out of all the pizzas which were delivered, okay, 30.375, which is 37.5% were thin crust pizzas. Okay, and in party 1 of all the pizzas delivered in party 1, 60%, which is 0.6, is thin crust pizzas. The balance 40% will be deep dish. Similarly, 55% in party 2 were thin crust, balance 45% will be deep dish. You don't know this, but we can calculate using this total. Now the deep dish is missing. Okay, now if you go to the distribution by cheese, okay, out of all the pizzas which were delivered, 52% were normal cheese pizzas. In party 3, 65% were normal cheese pizza. Party 2, 30% were normal cheese pizzas. And you can calculate the total normal cheese pizzas in party 1 from the total which will be there. The missing portion here would be the extra cheese pizza. Okay, and if you look at the questions, all the questions ask something like this: how many thin crust pizzas were delivered, how many normal cheese pizzas were delivered. For party 2, 50% of normal cheese were thin crust variety, and so on. So we need the distribution of thin crust and deep dish, and the distribution by normal cheese and deep dish. Okay, so let's try to get that distribution first. I think the questions after that should be pretty easy. Okay, so I have marked up all the cases. So I will take the total. Okay, this is the information which is given. So there are a total of 800 pizzas which are ordered. So this will be 800. This grand total would be 800. Now out of this, 70% were to be delivered to party 3. 70% will be delivered to party 3. So 70% of 800. 70% of 100 will be 70. 70% of 800 will be 8 into 70. So this should be 560. The balance is equally distributed. So you can either do 15% of 800, or from 800, 560 is gone. So 240. 240 is evenly distributed. So this will be 120. This will be 120 pizzas. So this gives you the total number of pizzas delivered to each. Now let's calculate the distribution here. Okay, in party 1, 60% were thin crust. So 60% of 120, 60% will be 10% is 12, 60% will be 6 into 12, 6 into 12 will be 72. So balance our deep dish, 120 minus 72 will be 48. This is pretty straightforward. In party 2, 55% were thin crust pizzas. 55%, 50% is 60. 5% will be 1/10 of 60, which is 6. So 60 plus 6, 66. So balance will be 120 minus 66, which is 54. Now, in order to calculate this, we need to calculate this part. Now, 37.5% of all the pizzas were thin crust pizzas. 37.5%. Now, 37.5% is 3 times 12.5%, and 12.5% is 1/8. So this is 3/8. 1/8 will be 100, 3/8 will be 300. So this will be balance 500. We don't need the calculator as of now. Now this will be this totals will be 300 minus sum of these two. This will be 500 minus sum of these two. Let's add this. 54 and 40 54 and 48 is 102. So 500 minus 102 is 398. Okay. You can either do this minus this to get this, or you can do this minus sum of these two. 72 plus 66 is 138. 300 minus 138 is 162. Okay, so this portion is done. Now let's repeat the same process on this side. Okay, in party 2, 30% of the pizzas are normal cheese. 30% of 120 will be 3 into 12, that's 36. So balance will be 120 minus 36, which is 84. Here, 52% is 52% of 800. Let's calculate this. 52% of 100 will be 52. 52% of 800 will be 52 into 8. 52 into 8. I can do this as 50 into 8 plus 2 into 8. 50 into 8 will be 400. 2 into 8 is 16. 400 plus 16 will be 416. So this will be the balance. 800 minus 416 will be, this is 84. 384. Okay, out of 560, 65% are normal cheese. Let's calculate 65% of 560. 10% is 56. 60% will be 6 times 56, that's 336. 5% is 28. 336 plus 28, that is 64. 364. So balance will be on this side. 560 minus 64, 364. 560 minus 360 will be 200. 200 minus 4 will be 196. Okay, now you can calculate these values. 416 minus sum of these two. 364 plus 36 will be 400. 416 minus 400 is 16. 120 minus 16 will be 104. Okay, so I've got the distribution of the entire pizzas by deep dish and thin crust, and by normal cheese and extra cheese. This is not going to take as much time as I've actually calculated, but I'm just trying to explain. Now, once you get this distribution, there is still some work to be done. If without any additional information, I cannot find out how many of these deep dish pizzas were extra cheese and how many were normal cheese. So that information is still not known. I just know it either by the type of crust or the type of cheese which is available. Now, the interaction between deep dish and cheese and or thin crust and extra cheese, that information is not known. Okay, so let's go to the question, because we have already got this table. I have tabulated these parts, so it will be easier to work. Okay, now these two questions are pretty easy to work. How many thin crust pizzas were delivered to party 3? Thin crust pizza party 3 is 162, option 2. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, question number 2 says how many normal cheese pizzas were delivered to party 1? Normal cheese to party 1 was 16, option 3. Okay, let's go to the next two questions. Okay, now question number 3 says for party 2, if 50% of the normal cheese pizzas were thin crust variety, 50% were thin crust variety of the normal cheese, 50% were thin crust. So 18 will be thin crust, balance 18 will be deep dish. So out of this 18 are normal cheese. So balance 66 minus 18 will be 48, will be deep dish. These are deep dish pizzas. Okay. Now, by the same logic, out of these 36, 18 are thin crust. So 18 will be deep dish. That 18 will be subtracted from here. 18 are from this normal cheese pizzas. So 54 minus 18 is 36. So deep dish is 30. Deep dish extra cheese will be 36. This is also extra cheese. Extra cheese will be 48. Now I can verify 48 plus 36 is 84, which is this number. Okay, so I've used this information. What is the difference between number of TEC, which is thin extra cheese? Thin extra cheese is 48, and deep dish extra cheese. Deep dish extra cheese is 36. What is the difference between 48 and 36? Difference between 48 and 36 is 12. Option 2 will be our correct choice. Okay, and we can look at the last one. The last one says, suppose TN pizza cost as much as DNC pizza, but 3/5 of the cost of DEC pizza. A DEC pizza costs 50 more than TEC pizza, and the latter cost 500. Okay, so here we have the price of each of these four. So you have TNC, T extra cheese, deep dish normal cheese, and deep dish extra cheese. These are the four types of pizzas. We have the prices for each of them. Okay, and you know, if 25% of normal cheese pizza delivered to party one were of deep dish variety, what was the total bill for party one? So we have the prices for each of these, and this gives you information about the distribution between crust and cheese. Okay, so we will have to find the number of pizzas ordered times unit price per pizzas, and if I multiply those two, I'll get the total cost for each of them. Okay, so it's very similar to the previous one, but there are two calculations. First, we need to calculate the price per unit, then we need to calculate the number of pizzas delivered. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, what do we know? A DEC pizza costs 50 more than TEC, and the latter costs 500. So a thin crust extra cheese costs 500 rupees. Okay, so this part is used up. A deep dish extra cheese costs 50 more than this. Deep dish extra cheese is 50 more, so this should be 550. Okay, so this part is done. Okay, now TNC and DNC are the same. So these two values are the same, and both of them are 3/5 of DEC. 3/5 of DEC. 1/5 will be 1/5 of 550 is 110. 110 into 3 is 330. So we have the unit price per pizza. Now we need to know how many pizzas are ordered. The second part gives you 25% of normal cheese pizzas delivered to party one were deep dish. 25% of normal cheese, right? Of all the values delivered to first pizza, 25%. So 25% of 16. 25% is 1/4. 1/4 of 16 were deep dish. So they are normal cheese, deep dish. Normal cheese, deep dish. So there are 4 such pizzas which are delivered. So there are 12 left. So balance normal cheese would all be thin crust. We already have used 4. So balance will be 12. So this will be 12. Now, what else do we know? Out of these 72, 12 were normal cheese. So balance 60 will be extra cheese, thin crust, extra cheese. That will be 60. Okay, so out of these 104, 60 were thin crust. So the balance 44 would be deep dish. Okay, so we have all the pizzas. You can verify 48 plus 12, 60, 60 plus 60 is 120, which is the total here. That's not the question. You need to find the total bill for this party. You can use a calculator here. Let's try to do it without a calculator. Okay, now to do it quickly, 330 plus 30, this is 330 into 12, this is 330 into 4. So these two will add up to 330 into 16. Okay, 330 into 10 will be 3,300. 330 into 6 will be 81980. That will be the total cost of these two combined. Okay, now 60 into 500 will be 30,000 rupees. Okay, 55 into 44. To do 55 into 44, 55 into 2 is 110. So it will be 22 into 110. That will be 11 into 220. Okay, 220 into 11 will be 242. Right? 24200. 240. 22 into 11 will be 24200. Okay, so sum of all this is going to be your total cost. So now if you look at it, we can estimate using just the values. Okay, 30 plus 24 is 54. So answer has to be more than 50,000. These two are out. Okay, now let's look at the last two digits. This is 00, 00, 00 and 80. So last two digits will be 80. So this cannot be the answer. This will be the answer. Option 1 will be our correct choice. So here we have tried to solve this without a calculator. Even without a calculator, it takes 16 minutes, but it took a lot of time for exploration. But in real time, it will take you about 10 to 11 to get 4 questions, which is a pretty reasonable run rate given the type of scores that people get in CAT for the LRDI section.
A lot of students miss out on good B schools because they simply don't apply and they are ignorant. They don't do any research beyond the IIMs and they are more worried about their profile and academics, etc., rather than actually getting into a good B schools and making a career in the management field. If you would like personalized B school assistance, all you need to do is fill up the Google document. Link is available in the description of this video, and we'll send you individual B school recommendations which fit your profile and your career aspirations. The set says 2 traders, Chetan and Michael, were involved in buying and selling of MCS shares over 5 trading days. At the beginning of first day, MCS share was priced at 100 rupees, while at the end of the 5th day, it was priced at 110. So you have beginning and you have end of day 5. So the price is 100 and the final price is 110. At the end of each day, the price went up either by 10 rupees or it came down by 10 rupees. So there are 5 movements, up or down 10 rupees, and on 5 movements, right? And net change is 10 rupees, which means that there will be 3 rise cycles and 2 fall cycles. 2 times it will fall, 3 times it will rise. Both Chetan and Michael took buying and selling decisions at the end of each trading day. The beginning price of MCS at the given day was same as the ending price the previous day. Right? Chetan and Michael started with the same number of shares and amount of cash and enough of both of them. Below are some of the additional facts we know how Chetan and Michael traded over the 5 days. Okay, let's see. Each day the price went up. Chetan sold 10 shares of MCS at the closing price. So at the end of the day, he will sell the shares if the price went up. So from 100, if it goes to 110, he will sell 10 shares, which means he will get 1100 rupees in cash. Similarly, on the other hand, if the price went down, he will buy 10 shares. If it went down, he will buy 10 shares. Right? He will buy 10 shares. So suppose it went 90, he will spend 900 rupees and buy 10 shares. Right. So whether it goes from 100 to 110 or 90 to 100 or from 80 to 90 or 110 to 120, he is going to buy the prices. Similarly, whether it's going, he's going to sell. Whether it's going from 110 to 100 or 100 to 90 or from 90 to 80, he's going to buy additional shares. That's Chetan's strategy. On second one says, on any day the closing price is above 110, then Michael sold shares. While if it was below 90, then he bought 10 shares. So the price becomes price is above 110. Then he will sell 10 shares. Whereas if it was below 90, he will buy 10 shares. Right. So for example, if the price was 90, right? So from 100, the price fell to 90, right? Michael will buy 10 shares. Chetan will buy 10 shares, but Michael will not buy 10 shares. If the price went to 80, both of them will buy 10 shares. If the price went to 70, both of them will buy 10 shares. But if the price went from 70 to 80, Chetan will not buy 10 shares. Chetan will actually sell 10 shares. whereas Michael will buy 10 shares. Why? Because the price is below 90. A similar sort of process will happen for price rises also above 100, 110, etc. So suppose the price rises from 100 to 110. Chetan will sell 10 shares. Michael will not do anything. From 110 to 120, both of them will sell 10 shares because price has risen, and Michael's scenario is if the price is above 110. If it goes from 120 to 130, 120 to 130, both of them will sell 10 shares. But if it goes from 130 to 120, right, Michael will be selling, whereas Chetan will be buying because the price has actually dropped. So this is basically their strategy, right? We know overall there are 3 rises, 2 falls, and what will be the range in which they are trading, right? Beyond this, we cannot do much. Let's go to the individual questions and try to solve them. Okay, question number 1. Chetan sold 10 shares of MCS on 3 consecutive days, which means on 3 consecutive days, price rise happened. On 3 consecutive days, price rise happens, right? While Michael sold 10 shares only once in the 5 days, which means only once was the price above 110, which means on the end of the 3rd consecutive day, it will be more than 110, that will be 120. So this will be 110, this will be 100, right? Now, price at the beginning of the day was 100, so it cannot be 100 at the end of the day because every day it either increases by 100, by 10 or drops by 10, right? So you can have the price go to either 90 or 110. But if it goes to 110, right? If it goes to 110, suppose it goes to 110, then it goes to 100 and then 110 and 120, right? These are only 2 rises and there is a 3rd rise over here, right? So the rises are not consecutive as is mentioned here. So it cannot rise on the first day. It cannot rise on the first day. Other way to look at it is if it rises on the first day, it should rise on the next 2 days also. So it will become 110, 120, 130, right? So Michael will end up buying twice. That is also not the case. So this is out. Right, so on the first day, it actually falls. Right. Now, on the second day, it can again rise or fall. If it goes to 80, what will happen if it goes to 80? If it goes to 80, right, then the remaining 3 days, it has to rise. Right. On the remaining 3 days, it will have to rise. So the prices will be 90, 100 and 110. But in this case, Michael will not be able to buy anything because Michael will not be able to sell anything because Michael sells only when the price goes above 110. The price has not reached above 110. So this scenario is also not possible, which means at the end of day 2, the price was not 80. The price would have been 100. Now, once it rises, it has to rise 3 consecutive times. That will be 110, 120, and then on the final day, it will fall. Question is, what was the price of MCS at the end of day 3? End of day 3 it is 110. Option 3 is your correct choice. Question number 2 says, if Chetan ends up with 1300 more cash than Michael at the end of day 5, what is the price of MCS share at the end of day 4? Now, think about it this way. Okay, we know Chetan is going to buy 2 times and sell 3 times because 3 times the prices are going to rise and 2 times the prices are going to fall. So irrespective of what Michael is going to do, Chetan we know is going to buy twice and sell 3 times. So let's see some patterns over here. So suppose the price was 100 to begin with, then it became 90, then 100 and 100, then 110, drop, rise, then say one more rise and then fell to 110. What will be the cash position of Chetan? He is going to buy for 900. He is going to buy 10 shares because the price has fallen. So he will lose 900 rupees. I mean, his cash position will go down by 900. Then he will sell 10 shares at 100. So he will get 1000 rupees. Then he will sell 10 more shares at 110. So he will get 1100. Then he'll sell another 10 shares, 1200. And then he'll buy for 110. So this will be his net cash. What will be his net cash? 900, 2000, 2000. This will be 1000. So his net cash position is anyways going to rise by 1300. Now this does not change irrespective of the price pattern. Let's try it out. So suppose from 100 it goes to 90, then it comes to 100, then goes to 110, then goes to 100, and then finally goes to 110. Suppose this is the change over the 5 days, right? So he will buy, so spend 900, then he will sell, so get 1000, then he will sell, so get 1100, then he'll buy, so spend 1000, and then he will sell, so get 1100. What is this net cash? This is minus plus 100. This is another 100, 100 plus 100, 200, 200 plus 1100, 1300. So irrespective of whatever is the pattern in which it reaches 110, Chetan is going to get 1300 more than what he started. Let's not with Michael, what he started with. Now, given this scenario, right, the question says Chetan has 1300 more than Michael, right? Now, Chetan has 1300 cash more than what he started with, right? More than what he started with, which means Michael has exactly the same amount of cash that he started with. Michael has exactly the same amount of cash that he has started with. Now that is possible only given the range that Michael operates in. See, Michael operates in very large ranges. If the price is above 110, only then he will sell. If the price is below 90, only then he will buy. Right? So, which means that he did not make any transactions over these 5 days. He did not make any transactions over these 5 days, right? Otherwise, if he had made any transaction, his cash position will also change. Either it will fall to a lower position because he was in buy position, or the cash position will increase because he had a greater amount of money. For example, here, right here, Michael will actually sell 120 shares at 120. So he is going to gain 1200 than what he was. Everything else is the same, right? So he's going to gain 1200 compared to what he has. So Michael ends with 1200, then extra that what he had. Chetan starts with 1300 with what he had. So the difference is going to be only 100, not 1300. The only way this difference will be 1300 is if Michael ended up in the same cash position, which means it did not make any transactions over this 5 period. That will happen only and only if the price fluctuates between 110 and 90, both inclusive, right? With this, let's try to solve this particular question. So the price of the stock cannot go beyond 110 or 90. It has to fluctuate within this range only. What is the question? The question is, what is the price of MCS at the end of day 4? Now I know end of day 5 is 110. So day 4, on day 5 it would have either increased by 10 rupees or fallen by 10 rupees. If it had fallen by 10 rupees, end of day 4 it would have been 120. Michael would have made a transaction. Not possible. This is out, which means end of day 4 it would have been 100. Option 2 will be our correct choice. Question number 3 says, if Michael ended up with 20 more shares than Chetan at the end of day 5, what was the price of the share at the end of day 3? You need to find what is the price of the share at the end of day 3. Now, just as in the previous question, right, we know that Michael is going to sell Chetan is going to sell 3 times and buy twice. So from his initial scenario, he's going to buy twice and sell 3 times, which means Chetan will have 10 shares lesser than, he's going to have 10 shares lesser than what he began with, right? Let's look at Michael, right? Now, Chetan has 20 more shares. Michael has 20 more shares than Chetan. Both of them started with the same one. So Michael will have Chetan plus 10, which is same as Michael plus 10. what he started with, right? So we know that Michael bought one extra time compared to Michael bought once, right? Whereas Chetan, we know he bought twice and sold 3 times. Now, when can Michael buy? Michael can buy only when the price goes below 90. Now, for the price to go below 90, right, it has to first reach 90. So from 100, if it reaches 90, that's one drop, right? Then if it goes to 80, that's another drop, right? Then Michael will buy, right? Michael's shares will increase by 10. Now, but from here on, to reach 110 in 3 days, every day it can increase by only 10. Either go up or go down by 10. All the remaining 3 days will be increases, right? This will be 90, this will be 100, and this will be 110. So this is the only scenario possible, right? This is the only scenario possible, right? Otherwise, the price will never go below 90, right? For example, if it increases to 110 on the first day, right? Now it cannot fall below 90 because 100 and 90 you have already reached 2 drops. Only 2 times the drops will happen over the 5-day period, right? So this is the only scenario where the price will drop below 90, right? 80 is the price at the end of day 2. That is when Michael will buy, right? All the other days it will increase and Michael remains dormant, right? It drops on day 1. All the other days it will increase. Michael remains dormant. You can verify for Chetan. Chetan will buy here. He will sell. So Chetan will be left with 10 lesser shares. Michael will be left with 10 more shares. 20 is the difference of shares between Chetan and Michael. And the question was, what is the price at the end of day 3? At the end of day 3, 100, 90, 80, 90. 90 again. Option 1 will be your correct choice. Now, question number 4 is basically a combination of question number 3 as well as question number 2. Right? Now, it says if Michael ended up with 100 rupees cash less than Chetan at the end of day 5, what was the difference between the number of shares possessed by Michael and Chetan at the end of day 5? Ended up with 100 rupees cash less than Chetan at the end of day 5. What is the difference in the number of shares possessed by Michael and Chetan? Now, we know from question number 2 that Chetan is going to end up with 1,300 irrespective of whatever is going to happen. Chetan is going to end up with 1,300 more. So Chetan is going to have Chetan plus 1,300. So Michael has 100 less than Chetan. So he will have Chetan plus 1200, which is same as Michael plus 1200. So he has 1200 rupees more than what he started with, which means he sold shares, right? He sold shares. Now, from question number 3, we know that he can buy only once. He can buy only once, right? But he cannot buy and sell in the same cycle. Right? Because when he bought once, the price did not rise enough for him to sell in the range that he operates, right? Now, given that he has 1,200 more, right? The only way he can get cash is if he sells 10 shares at 120 and does it only once. If he sells 10 shares at 120 and does it only once, right? Because he cannot buy and sell in the same cycle, right? That we have figured out, right? So what we know is that there is one time that he sold the shares. Now, what happens to the shares? In terms of shares, Chetan ends up with, he buys 2 times and he sells 3 times. So Chetan will end up with 10 shares lesser than what he started with. What about Michael? Michael has also sold once. So Michael will also have 10 shares lesser than what he had, right? Which means, and Chetan and Michael started with the same number of shares, which means both of them have the same number of shares. Option 5 is your correct choice. And question number 5, basically now it is going to be pretty straightforward now that we have solved the first 4. It says what could be the maximum possible increase in combined cash balance of Chetan and Michael. Now we know Chetan's cash balance is going to increase by 1,300, right? let's see how much Michael can increase the cash balance. Michael's cash balance will increase as long as the price stays above 110. So we need to make sure that the price stays above 110 while complying with this scenario that it should rise 3 times and fall 2 times. Okay, so let's assume from 100 it goes to 110, then it goes to 120, then it goes to 130, right? Then it falls to 120 and then it goes to 110. Satisfies this criteria. Now, Michael's cash balance does not change. Here, Michael's cash balance increases by he is going to sell 10 shares. Every time the price is above 110, he's going to sell. So his cash balance will increase by 1200. Okay. He's going to again sell 10 shares. So another 1300. He's again going to sell here. So another 1200. So that's 2400 plus 1300. That's 3700. That's the maximum cash balance that Michael can increase his. Right? So 3700 plus 1300, total is 5000. Option 4 will be your correct choice. It's a beautiful, wonderful set. It does not require a lot of calculation, but it does require a lot of logic. You need to understand the pattern. Once you get hold of the pattern, the question can be solved. It's a moderate to slightly difficult sort of a set. That completes this session on must-do sets for CAT LRDI preparation. Please do let us know in the comments below how you like this. Please do share this with your friends who are preparing for CAT and other MBA entrance examinations. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, or you can connect with us on WhatsApp and Telegram groups. The links are all available in the description of this particular video. If you're facing any problem with CAT LRDI sets, you can look at our YouTube channel playlist on how to prepare for CAT LRDI. If you want any specialized, personalized attention on LRDI preparation in the most structured manner, you can also look at our Ultimate LRDI course. This is the most comprehensive course which is available in the market. Till we meet again the next time, goodbye and all the best.